distinct honor to welcome you to today's luncheon for the presentation of Nasdaq's inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award to Mr. Ross Perot Jr. In this room, we are privileged to host many of Texas's most influential leaders. Every person in this room has played a role in the extraordinary performance of the Texas economy. We are especially honored to have with us Governor Greg Abbott, whom you will hear from later in today's program. Under Governor Abbott, the Texas economic miracle is globally recognized and growing in impact. Frankly, if it is a miracle produced by hard work and a clear vision. I believe our governor is the hardest working, most successful governor in the United States. Ariana, I know, Ariana, he calls you at all hours of the night and day, right? The head of economic development of the state of Texas. In addition, we are grateful to be joined by several Texas elected officials, and you can hold your applause to the end. Former Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, Congressman Jake Elzie, Congressman Craig Goldman, Congressman Keith Self, Congressman Mark Viezi, Congressman Roger Williams, and former state representative Dan Branch. Let's have a round of applause. So, it's not easy being a public servant today, and we appreciate that public service. I'm kind of a student of famous speeches, and one of the most famous and one of my favorite was delivered right here in Texas. John F. Kennedy was on a football field visiting Rice University, and he asked a question I ask myself almost every day: why does Rice play Texas? He was talking about going to the moon, but his analogy was, and answer was, we choose to do things not because they are easy, but because they are hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win. Ross Perot Jr. is someone who has spent his entire life doing those hard things President Kennedy was speaking of. When I grew up in Houston, we celebrated two groups of people: astronauts and wildcatters. They were perseverant, resilient individuals who took calculated risks. Texas continues to produce leaders like that, leaders like Ross Perot Jr. Ross's vision, energy, and integrity have improved the lives of many, grown the economy wherever he touched it, and brought people together for a common and higher purpose. I have the privilege of serving with Ross in the U.S. Chamber Board of Directors, which Ross will begin to chair in June. And the Chamber's president and CEO, Suzanne Clark, wanted to be with us today, had a conflict, but she sends these words: Ross is an essential leader and advisor on our board. He brings a global mindset, the experience and perspective of running a vast and vibrant commercial enterprise in Texas, and a passion for free enterprise. And we are all stronger for it. The reach and influence of a leader like Ross extends far beyond Texas or even the United States. He's a global voice for American business. It is now my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Nasdaq's chair and CEO, Adena Friedman. Under Adena's leadership, Nasdaq has grown dramatically, tripled in size, and been transformed into a technology company serving all parts of the financial industry. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I hope everyone's enjoying eating. So I do appreciate the fact that this is during a meal, so feel free to eat. But I just want to thank all of you so much for coming. We are so pleased that all of you have come together on this special day to recognize Ross Perot Jr. and his many contributions to this community, the economy, and to, of course, the great state of Texas. Nasdaq has operated in Texas for almost 2 decades, and we are proud to be part of the trusted fabric of the state's ecosystem. As many of you know, Nasdaq is home to over 200 listed companies headquartered here in Texas, representing approximately $2 trillion in market cap as of December of 2024. In addition to our role as a world-leading exchange and listing venue, we also are a scaled technology provider, where we partner with thousands of financial institutions, investment managers, and corporate clients across the financial landscape, many of whom call Texas home, and we help to advance the capital markets and the wider economy. In fact, we serve 800 clients here in Texas. So it's an amazing group of clients that we have, and we're just so proud to have all of these companies trust us with their technology solutions to help manage risk, to help manage their lives in public markets, and to help them make smarter asset allocation decisions. Today, we're proud to announce our continuing commitment to the state, and we will make new investments in Texas, including increasing our footprint to support our clients and the wider economy. As part of this investment, we're proud to announce that Nasdaq will open a new regional headquarters here in Dallas. We are literally brimming with excitement, I have to tell you. It's really exciting. I'm looking at Rachel. We're so excited. So the space will be a hub to Nasdaq clients and to the wider community, and will serve as a common convening space to celebrate the leaders, the entrepreneurs, and the innovators that call Texas home. As part of this commitment, we will continue to be tireless advocates for our clients, and we will build on our long-standing track record of fighting for the vibrancy of public markets and supporting the millions of Main Street investors who rely on the markets to build their wealth and secure their financial futures. Our commitment in Texas and to our clients underscores our belief in the state's continued role as a global powerhouse for innovation and growth. We're dedicated to continue to be part of the community, fostering an ecosystem where our clients and the wider Texas economy will thrive. And with that, I would like to introduce a man who has been a leader in the Texas business community for a long time. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ross Perot Jr., the visionary entrepreneur, the chairman of Hillwood, for a discussion about his life, his achievements, and his vision for the future of Texas. Thank you, Ross. All right. I have a feeling a lot of you know Ross well, but boy, does he have a great story. He has just a great personal story, professional story, and so we want to just unpack that a little bit and have some fun doing
Adena,
it.
thank you. You're very honored to be here, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Yes, he may have seen them ahead of time, but they're always. I might sneak a few.
But you might have a couple extra.
There might
questions.
be. All right. Well, first of all, I want to start by just talking a little bit about your personal background and history. You are a very accomplished pilot, which I admire greatly. I'm a huge fan of aviation.
Well, you're
and what
a pilot
you did.
also, right?
I did get my pilot's license, yes, but not in a helicopter. So what was amazing is both your time in service in the Air Force, and then your decision to circumnavigate the world in a helicopter as the first person ever to do that, which I still wish that I could have been there for just a moment of that experience. But so if you think about aviation, your passion for aviation, your passion for the armed services, how have you taken that into the business community? Like, what do you bring with you into the business community that translates well?
I mean, in life, it all links together. And if you go back to, I was very blessed to have an amazing family, mother and father, and my mom is with us today. And as I like to tell people, I lived the American dream through my parents. And when I was born, my dad's a salesman for IBM. And so I saw this whole journey, and my father and mother always surrounded us by amazing people. And so why aviation? My great uncle Henry was one of the first pilots in the state of Texas. So as a little boy, I go to Texarkana. I'm doing loops and rolls with my Uncle Henry. My grandmother was furious because they had little grandson up there flying around. Then I grew up in the 60s in the space program. And so I love space. I had Estes rockets. I'm shooting rockets up. My dad saw that. And so we went to the Apollo 11 launch.
Oh, wow.
And so I was so young that I wasn't allowed in the grandstands of Apollo 11. They put me in the administration building of the FAA, of NASA. And so all the children of the congressmen who were too young were up there with me. And I was up there with the Kennedy kids to watch Apollo 11 go up. And so then Apollo 12 splashed down in Houston. And then Frank Borman became a great family friend. And Frank Borman would fly his T-38 into Love Field and come have dinner at our house in his flight suit. And so people say, why do you like aviation? So, how could I not like aviation? And then my father started helping the prisoners of war in Vietnam. And they're all fighter pilots. And so again, I'm so young, I'm going to fighter pilot parties in Las Vegas. And I'm too young to go on the floor, and because but my mom was on the floor. She loved Las Vegas, and she'd be out there with these fighter pilots. And so I grew up with these great role models, Reisner, the senior Air Force officer out of Vietnam. And so that's the world I was in. I love flying, and so serving my country was second nature. And so that's why number one, start flying helicopters, because it's a great opportunity. Number two, to fly a helicopter around the world. The opportunity presented itself because an Australian named Dick Smith announced he's going to be the first man to fly a helicopter around the world. And I read about it in the paper, I'm a helicopter pilot. And I said, look, Australians don't do these things. This is what Americans do.
Exactly.
And this is what Texans do. So this guy shows up in Texas, he buys a Bell helicopter, and
I think it's going in and out a little bit.
you want, okay, should I take this off? Okay, so he bought a Bell helicopter, he leaves from Fort Worth, and it's like, wait a minute, let's go beat him. And so Jay Coburn, who I was flying with, I called Jay, I said, look, you want to go beat this guy? He goes, yeah, let's go beat him. And so then my father sent me a note, he goes, did you read about this Australian guy? I said, yeah. He goes, what do you think? I said, let's go beat him. And in my family, and in our culture, we like big ideas. And my dad, if he didn't, and you can ask my sisters and my mom and grandchildren, you could if my dad started getting bored, he was looking for a big idea. Well, there was kind of a slow period at EDS. And I said, let's fly a helicopter around the world. He goes, well, hell yeah, let's go around the world. And so that was the big idea. And so we started, so August 1st, we thought of the idea. We took off September 1, we're done September 30th. So what did you learn? Number one, a third of the trip is flying. 2/3 is the team. We built an incredible team that helped us around the world. Number one, we believed. We had complete faith we'd get it done. And we were convinced we're going to do it in 30 days. And all the experts said, no, you're not going to get it done in 30 days, 60, 90 days. And so I was in dating my wife, Sarah. And so Sarah, on takeoff, she gave me 30 envelopes. And she said, when you open the last envelope, you'll be home. So Sarah believed in us.
Nice.
And so you got to believe in your dream.
Yeah.
You got to have a great team, and you've got to have perseverance. And so you bring that to your business world. And so if you go to the Alliance Airport, how'd the Alliance Airport work? Well, when I flew around the world, I got to know all the leaders of the Southwest region of the FAA because they had to certify the aircraft. When then the FAA needs a new airport, we all knew each other. They said, look, you own the land where we want an airport. And we knew, and we had a reputation for donating land for public projects. They said, why don't you donate land for an airport? And I'm flying the Air Force, I'm flying a car as well. And so it all came together because of these relationships built through the years, and these opportunities open up. And with the right relationships, you walk through that door, you build a team, we got the airport done.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how the military led to the business.
Yeah, and I love the idea of it starting with a big idea. We talk about that a lot at Nasdaq. It's like, how do we expand what we do? Let's make sure that we're not thinking too small, honestly. Let's make sure we have at least you start with that big idea. But as you said, it's all about the team. It's all about the people who you put next to you and around you to make sure that you can execute on that big idea.
And then you just don't give up.
Exactly.
No, you don't give up. And when Mike Berry and I did Alliance together, we started that project right at the beginning of the S&L crisis. And it wasn't a recession in North Texas, it was depression. Yeah. And literally, we had this airport coming, and there was the phones didn't ring. Nobody needed real estate. Matter of fact, the real estate was so bad, we had the RTC auctions where the government was selling land at 5 cents on the dollar.
Oh, wow.
All around us. And so Mike and I we looked at each other, and we just didn't quit. And we kept at it, and we kept at it, and kept at it, and now you see what we have today.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that origin story. So with Alliance, it's a big part of the Texas miracle, as we talk about. And understanding that moment, first, what was, it sounds like you gave us that kind of an understanding of the moment, but knowing the resilience of the U.S. economy, we had a very difficult period of time in the credit crisis, and there was obviously a moment in our history that I think created a dark day for a lot of people. However, I think what you're saying is that you really understood the overall underpinnings of the resilience of the U.S. economy and how we could build back, how it could still become what it is today.
In Texas.
In
I mean, the
Texas.
U.S. economy for
Exactly.
sure, but the Texas.
Yes.
So the issue is, why did you believe that a project, because Alliance today is 27,000 acres. And the vision was pretty simple. We're building the last big piece in North Texas, the northwest quadrant, off of DFW Airport. I mean, that was the big idea. The airport came, but also it's business 101. What we thought we were going to do didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we were going to do all these aviation deals. Our first deal was a railroad deal. And the foundation of Alliance today is more railroad than aviation. Don't tell the American guys that. The American, Bob Crandall, it was a great partner when you put that maintenance. We did the deal with Bob Crandall on the American base before the runway was even open. And he came out there, and we had great state leadership like we do with Governor Abbott. We had Governor Clements. And Clements and Crandall worked the deal, and we could put that heavy maintenance. So here's an airport being built, not even open, and American Airlines announces a $500 million maintenance base, which all of a sudden gave us unbelievable credibility. Now, as Barry will tell you, the phone started ringing. All of a sudden, people saw what this airport would be. So you've got to believe in the big idea. You've got to build that team. But then you've got to help the public sector. Another critical point, because the FAA wanted a little general aviation airport, and they built 4 airports in North Texas to relieve traffic off of DFW Airport. That was the idea. And so I went back to relationships. I go back to Bell Helicopter. I see the team at Bell. I said, look, we're going to build this airport. You guys put the V-22 out there. And Bell said, look, we can't go to Little Airport. And Dwayne Jones looked at me. He goes, look, you need an industrial airport. I said, well, what's that? He goes, you need an airport for industry like Carswell, like Navy Dallas. Because the industrial base in North Texas needs another airport. We go back to FAA. The FAA goes, well, we don't have that. We don't have an industrial airport category. And I said, well, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
And so, but politics, you learn early in life how important politics is. And so at that moment, if you in Jack Martin, critical partner of mine for 35 years on politics, at that moment, we had Gib Lewis was the Speaker of the Texas House on top of the Alliance property. And on top of that, we had Jim Wright, Speaker of the U.S. House. We had double speakers on top of our property. If we can't get an airport category change with double speakers, and we can't get funding immediately with double speakers, then you're not working very hard. So that's why the idea showed up in 87, early 87. We broke ground summer of 88, opened in 89, fastest airport the FAA has ever built, because we had great public partners, great political leadership, and again, a team that would perform. And so that's why the airport came through the system so quickly and why it happened so quickly. But it was that bold political statement that allowed it to occur.
Yeah, I think it's a great point in terms of how important leadership is at every level, including at the state level and obviously the government level, and then the corporate leadership.
And also
important.
part
That's
of
the virtuous
in that
cycle.
Texas culture, why
Yes.
do we have such a growing economy? It's because we get along.
Well, I was
The
about to ask you
public-private
that.
partnership. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm jumping in front.
it
But
is
that
so-
public, look at the public leaders in the room today. Look at
Right.
these phenomenal men and women serving our state, serving our country, and they are dedicated to making this state better. And we have Democrats, Republicans, we're here together, and we're building Texas as a bipartisan nation.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, Texas is the 8th largest economy in the world. And that doesn't happen by accident. I mean, that happens through an enormous amount of consistent hard work over many, many decades to build something that tremendous. And frankly, and it's really, you can feel the momentum. It's almost like at a point of liftoff in terms of acceleration. So what does make it special? And that virtuous cycle between the public and private sector is something that I think is well understood in the state of Texas, unlike potentially other parts of the country and the world. So as you think about that and what you're thinking about doing, going forward, and how you're going to take that momentum and everything that you're working on, what's next for you? What are you excited about next?
And I think, just to go back a moment, optimism. It's a
Yes.
very optimistic part of the country, and we really do believe in the future, and we're convinced the future will be brighter in this state. And we have a very open, easy culture. And if all the companies that are moving in and all the people moving in, you quickly can become part of this community. And we've moved tens of thousands of people in and out of this market through the decades. Most of the people we move in they don't want to leave because it's such a great community. So I think it's our culture. We have great public-private partnership, wonderful roads, infrastructure, all the critical issues, great tax environment, great regulation. But I hear more and more today it's the culture.
Yeah.
People love being here. So the next big project for us is I think, is the Nasdaq momentum. Having you moved our community is really important. Your competitors are now starting to talk about moving it also, as you know.
I know, but that's okay.
It goes to the leadership of Governor Abbott, who had this vision of how do we bring the financial services industry to this state. And the reason Goldman Sachs is in Dallas today is that Governor Abbott worked John Waldron, I think, for 5 or 6 years, convincing him to come to this state, and it really worked at Goldman. And so Goldman was huge, you're big, but I've never, if you, again, go back to our team, the amount of, I think every major financial services firm in the world now wants an office in Dallas. And so we are, most of us complain that we have too much office space. In my world, we're out of office. The companies that are coming here, it's staggering. And I was told this week we've got another firm coming that needs 500 to 800,000 square feet of office space in downtown. And so as I was with some local political leaders this morning, I said, look, I know we always are working on issues in Dallas, but I said, let's step back a minute and realize how blessed we are to have this huge amount of business coming, the huge amount of growth coming, and the optimism, and we're really riding a great wave. And the challenge now is get it done, capture all the business we can, and then take great care of that client, because if we take care of that client, they're going to tell their friends, and you're going to have more and more coming in.
And also I think the other thing is what we've experienced is as soon as we say we have an interest, Governor Abbott kind of invited us to meet with him, and then also brought business leaders like you and others with him into that meeting. I've never been in a meeting like that where you've got a governor who says, okay, let me just bring in people who will actually be there to help you execute on that idea.
I think we all at the governor's mansion, weren't we?
Yes.
I think right at the edge of COVID, where people were afraid to travel. But,
they did it all.
We're always open, right?
The protocols were amazing. We were able to meet together. It was incredible. But it was one of these, just let me open the door and make it so that we are solving a problem, making it so it can happen fast. And I've honestly never dealt with a governor that has that kind of approach to and that attitude, and also how it works as hard as Governor Abbott works. It's incredible. But I also would say that it's being noticed around the world. So Texas is an incredible state, but it's also a very global, it's the home to huge global businesses, and there are global organizations now that are really focusing in on what can we do in the state and how can we bring the state to the rest of the world. So that's one of the things that we like to think that we can do to help our clients, because we are global in terms of our reach, the exchanges we operate, the clients we serve. And so I was curious for you, as you think about bringing global businesses in, is there something that you work on? Do you go out and try to seek companies to come in from around the world? Are they just coming your way? How does that work for you as well?
It's a little bit of both, but we still go out. And you still have to go out. You have to visit clients, and Europe, they've broken the European economy, and we're starting to see more European manufacturing want to come to America. And a lot of the attractiveness of Texas is our energy. And so you've got 160 years of natural gas in this state. That's bringing the data centers. That's bringing the auto factories. That's bringing all these factories that need affordable long-term power. You go to Europe today, they do not have affordable long-term power because they really broke the power foundation, and they relied still on Russia. And when Russia went into Ukraine, it cut off the Nord Stream pipeline. So now European power is so expensive, they want to come to an affordable state like ours. And so this all the above energy strategy that Governor Abbott has really pays dividends, and it's this deep grid and the deep natural gas power that we have is going to keep the state competitive for a long time. So we do go out, we always make sales calls, and you always learn. And you never, because you go out and talk to the client, they're going to tell you what they want, and then most of the time we hadn't thought of that, and it makes us better, and we try to create a product.
All right, well, so outside of the business world, you also are an incredible philanthropist, and you've really dedicated an enormous amount of your time and energy to philanthropy. So how do you bring your business acumen into philanthropy? How do you bring philanthropy into the business community?
Well, within Hillwood,
what are your focus areas?
Hillwood, it's hand in glove. Everybody on the Hillwood team knows we're here to help other people. And so each of our groups are helping people literally all the time. You know, somewhere we do lots of Homes for Heroes, our residential team. You know, Todd Platt, our industrial team, built the food bank warehouse for the food bank.
Oh, wow.
And so we're always helping, and it's ingrained. And then the special things is my wife Sarah and I work on our foundation together. We like basic human need. We certainly are very active behind the med school, and in basically the research part of the medical school, because we believe that the research at the med school can truly change human life. I mean, we developed statins at Southwestern Med School. I mean, what have the statins done for the global population? And my dad called them genius doctors. One genius doctor can change the course of history in human life. And so if you want a big multiplier, medical research. So we're big on medical research. Certainly the food banks. Very, very, my son Hill is on the Medal of Honor Foundation. He's also in the Air Force as a pilot. And so we like the military. And then we do things that most people don't focus on. We're very active in Ukraine. We've given millions to Franklin Grant at Samaritan's Purse. And we help build the hospitals in Ukraine. We help feed the Ukrainians. And because Russia has destroyed the water system in many of these cities, we're now drilling water wells in churchyards to provide water for the Ukrainian people.
Wow.
That's one side. And then we help Spirit of America, which is a group that's tied into our military. And so when the Ukrainian military needs something, we can buy the non-combatant equipment, night vision goggles. We can buy bulletproof vests, things like that.
Yeah.
And we help set up the radio network for the Ukrainian army, because right at the beginning of the war, they couldn't communicate. So Spirit of America, with our special ops teams, bought the equipment for the Ukrainian army. So these are things that are very personal, that we really like to do. And we're not really passive on our charities. So I mean, we like to know the charity, know the people, be involved, and make sure that impact is really strong. We're very active in Iraq, up in northern Iraq with the Kurds. We've got business in Iraq, but we supply food into the refugee camps. We help the churches in Iraq with the Kurds. We help the Peshmerga buy bomb dogs. I mean, so things that, again, are very, like the military, I like helping these things, so they're very personal.
Oh, that's amazing, but you're also using all of your leadership strengths, but also the network of your capabilities to
But just a world, not many people live in this world, and they haven't been in the military world, they haven't been around this team. And so we see that, and we're able to really help do some things that I think are really unique, that can have a big impact, and it's core to our beliefs.
Well, I would just say this is one of the many reasons why Ross Perot is a recipient of our Lifetime Achievement Award. I just want to thank you so much. Great conversation. We're now going to sign a proclamation
thank you.
And invite the governor to join us. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ross. So I'm going to sign this, and then we're going to frame it, and we'll take a picture.
Okay.
Okay, great. Oh, by the way, so there is a pen at everyone's table, and it says the Spirit of Texas. And I just want, and it says 26,000 miles in 246 and a half hours, which is exactly how much time it took for Ross Perot to circumvent the globe in its helicopter. So this is a nice commemorative pen for everyone, and I will use it to sign. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think I'll put the glass on there. All right, well, we're going to take a picture with you with this.
Okay.
You get to hold this nice big frame.
Okay, great.
I'll go over here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Outstanding.
thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it. Yes, Adena, thank you very much. It was a great conversation, and we covered a lot of territory. I want to thank all my friends in the room, all the political leaders in the room. And as I said earlier, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your dedication to this state. I want to thank my family one more time, my mother, my wife Sarah, have Hill here, and Meredith is my youngest daughter Meredith with us, so thank you. And so this, as I said, we have a wonderful future in our community. And as long as we continue to work together the way we do, we keep our optimism, the sky is the limit on what we'll have in the Dallas-Fort Worth marketplace. So God bless all of you, and thank you for what you do. Adena, thank you.
to spend a minute introducing someone who does not need an introduction. But I want to say it is my great honor to introduce Governor Greg Abbott. Governor, under your leadership, the Texas Miracle has made this state a global epicenter of innovation and free markets. Texas, as I said before, has become the 8th largest economy in the world, providing rocket fuel for cutting-edge innovators to turn Texas-sized dreams into some of the world's great companies. It has become one of the great job creators in the world, too. It's just an incredible accomplishment under your governorship. Texas, during your governorship, has added over 2.5 million jobs. And in the last year, the state grew its labor forces to record levels. You created a business environment with smart regulatory framework that attracts growth, investment, and innovation. And it's no wonder that so many companies have relocated their headquarters to Texas over the last 2 years. The Texas Miracle did not happen by accident, Governor Abbott. It is through your tremendous hard work, your incredible dedication, your passion. It comes through every single minute of every day. I cannot tell you how much energy he brings. I'm sure you all know that. It's just incredible. And I can tell you that firsthand, as we've been working on increasing our presence here in Texas, the governor and everyone on his team has been incredible to work with. And so thank you so much for all of that. All right, so I think I'm going to just hand it over to you, Governor, to come on up. And we are so honored to have you with us. And thank you very much for giving us a few remarks. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Adena, very much for your very kind words. Great to have you here. Ross, outstanding presentation. Great to be here with you. And as we both know, none of us would be here, and certainly you would not be in the situation you are without incredible parents, your dad, Ross Perot, and your mom, Margot. Margot, great to be with you here today. Give it up for Margot Perot. And Sarah, I mean, one thing about you and Sarah, and that is we consider you guys to be friends. We spend time with you business-wise and otherwise. It's great to reunite with both of you here today on such a tremendous day of recognition, deserving recognition for an incredible leader, not just in the state of Texas, not even just in the United States, but literally across the entire globe. But I do want to also express my gratitude and provide the recognition that the Nasdaq deserves for making such a huge, game-changing announcement today, where the Nasdaq is now going to have a regional headquarters right here in the great state of Texas, in Dallas, Texas. You know, you talked about the RTC, you talked about the S&L crisis, which, as you know, became a real estate crisis, which was also an oil and gas crisis. And so if everything could go wrong, it did go wrong. But in the aftermath of that, there was a recalibration economically of what we did in the state of Texas, and we were committed to several goals. One was to never let that happen again, but the other was a strategy to ensure that it would never happen again by diversifying our economy. There is not a more diversified state economy anywhere in the United States of America. It's because of leaders like Ross Perot who have elevated us to that platform and to that status. But a way in which our economy has become even more diversified over the past few years is through the financial markets. Again, going back from the S&L crisis until today, the economy has been growing and growing rapidly, and I'll explain a few reasons why. But what we've seen an acceleration of over the past decade is the growth of the financial sector, and largely in services, but also in capital. And Texas has become the home of capital in the United States, and now it's just a natural evolution for Texas to become a home of capital markets in the United States. With Nasdaq now having their regional headquarters here, just adds and underscores that very important point. Texas truly is the epicenter of business in the United States. Texas is truly at the pinnacle of the United States economy. Just a couple of facts supporting that. Texas has been ranked by CEOs, the men and women who make decisions for businesses across the country, as the #1 state for doing business for 20 years in a row. The state level report for the number of new jobs added over the past month just came out for the last month. Texas once again ranked number 1 for the most new jobs over the past month. Also number 1 for the most new jobs added of any state in the United States for the past year. And we've done that for many years in a row now. Texas has been the national leader for exports for 20 years in a row. And as Adena pointed out, Texas now has the 8th largest economy in the world. Again, that didn't happen overnight, but it happened just recently. In just the past 10 years, the economy of Texas has surpassed the economies of Brazil, Italy, Canada, Russia, and Australia. There now remain only 7 countries with an economy larger than Texas. The United States, obviously, China, India, Japan, the UK, Germany, and France. And anybody who keeps up with what's going on in Texas and maybe kind of what's going on in France knows, yeah, we may be passing France one of these days soon to have the 7th largest economy in the world. And I can tell you that definitely going forward, because there are certain sectors, certain economic sectors, that will be the predominant sectors going forward. Texas is the leader in each of these sectors. One is space. If you follow at all what's going on in space, Texas obviously is the home of SpaceX. SpaceX represents the overwhelming majority of all space exploration right now and will, for the foreseeable future going forward. Artificial intelligence. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Stargate project out in Abilene, which is just the tip of the spear of what's going on with regard to artificial intelligence data centers. But it's not just the data centers, it's those who are using and applying and coming up with the next generation of applied artificial intelligence that are now locating their facilities, their employees, and their innovations here in the great state of Texas. Something that you need for artificial intelligence are semiconductors. Texas has led in semiconductor manufacturing for 10 years and semiconductor exports for 10 years. And now we're going to be onboarding even more semiconductors when we complete the Samsung facility, a $44 billion facility in Taylor, Texas, just north of Austin. There's another TI facility that's going to be completed soon up in Sherman, as well as a Globotech facility up in the Sherman area. So my point is this: even though we're already the national leader in semiconductors, that lead will just expand even more, and we will become one of the top 1 or 2 or at most 3 countries in the world for semiconductors here in the very near future. Ross, one thing that you talked about that is essential to space, essential to AI, essential to semiconductors, and essential to the future is power. One reason why AI is building out in the state of Texas the way that it is, and why other businesses are coming here, is because Texas has such prolific power. Texas, the power generated by Texas is more than the number 2 and 3 states combined. As a result, we are the power generation center of the United States. The future of America, the future of a business cannot run without power. No state can match the prowess of the state of Texas. But there's another category that I want to get to. Another objective way that you see how Texas has been successful. There is an award given out for the state that ranks number 1 for business relocation and expansion. It's called the Governor's Cup, and it goes to the governor of the state that ranks number 1 for that business relocation and expansion. This is an award that Texas just got most recently earlier this month. And it was the 13th year in a row Texas has received that award. The number 2 state was less than half of what Texas accomplished. If there is anything in life that falls under the category of being peerless, Texas is peerless as it concerns to economic development. Ross, you talked about leaders, and we wouldn't be where we are with regard to those economic development trophies if it weren't for our leader, Adena Cruz. Adena, I want you to stand up. The leader of the Texas Economic Development Corporation. But Adena would be the first to tell you what I'm about to tell you. And that is the accolades that I just reeled off. Those rankings that Texas has achieved would not have been possible without a substantial and extraordinary assist by Ross Perot. So if I could deviate for a second and talk about what I really like to talk about, and that's sports. So I know that there's an invasion of people from New York here today. New Jersey, I want to talk about some Dallas sports. And so this will apply to Dallasites, maybe people around the perimeter, people from Fort Worth, Craig Oman. I know you don't like to call yourself a Dallasite, but you don't have an NBA team over in Fort Worth yet, do you? Not yet. So a lot of people here will know about the Dallas Mavericks. And the Dallas Mavericks have had some good seasons and some not good seasons, but through it all, there's an important player on every basketball team. It's the player who's in charge of providing assists to people who will score the points. And in the history of the Mavericks, there's been some great players like that. Jason Kidd is one, Dirk is another, Luka is another. You have to be here a long time to know who the all-time assist leader is for the Dallas Mavericks. Derek Harper. Remember Derek Harper, all-time assist leader. Here's the point. Ross Perot is the Derek Harper of economic development for the state of Texas. The all-time assist leader. I'll reel off some of these names of things you were directly involved in, maybe oftentimes in charge of. Bringing the headquarters of Charles Schwab right here to the Alliance Center, Fidelity Investments, Meta, Bell Textron, Embraer, Deloitte, MP Materials, and as you know, the list goes on. You were up here talking about Alliance Texas. I mean, he talked about it as though it was something that was inevitable, something that would just happen. He didn't go through the tough tests that he had to go through to get there, but he had the vision, he had the ability to execute, and he had the perseverance to develop Alliance, which is now home to more than 500 businesses, including operations by BNSF Railway, FedEx, UPS, Amazon, Stanley Black & Decker, and hundreds more. Importantly for us in what we do economically, Ross is really our international ambassador. He was and is an extraordinary aid to us in connecting us with CEOs at the international level. Recently, we took a trip over to Europe, and in advance of that, Ross was lining up meetings for us, Adena and I and others, to be able to meet with the key CEOs in the UK, in Germany, and then after a long day of meetings in the UK, Ross says, let's jump on a plane and fly over to France and meet with the CEO of one of the world's most important energy companies, where we had dinner with Ross and Sarah, the First Lady, and the CEO of this company, and made a very strong connection. So one thing about Ross is that he remains in perpetual motion. Two quick stories about that. 2 years ago, 2023, was the year when TCU went to the national championship game in college football. There you go. That's Roger Williams right there. Former baseball player at TCU, if I recall correctly. You still do this, no doubt. So halfway through the game, Roger, when things weren't looking so good, Ross spent the rest of the evening with me and someone you were doing business with about educating me about how soon at that time there would be all these flying devices flying over the skies of Dallas, dropping packages in your backyard, on your front porch. And what it was talking about that night has now come to fruition, and those packages are being dropped now. Well, discussions like that, whether they be at a college national championship game or elsewhere, whenever I'm around Ross, they're constantly happening. Ross will remember last week, we were in Austin, Texas, honoring Michael and Susan Dell for their lifetime accomplishments of the way they have set their own history for the state of Texas. And I shook Ross's hand, said, look forward to seeing you next week at the Nasdaq event. He said, listen, that's important, but more important than that, I got the CEO I need you to talk to about another possible deal coming to the state of Texas. He's just constantly going. The point is this: if ever there was such a thing as an economic development point guard, constantly pushing the ball up the court, assisting others with closing deals, it would be Ross Perot Jr. Texas is the economic national champion because we will have one of the most valuable players to ever play the game in Ross Perot. Congratulations to you, Ross and Sarah, for everything you've done for the great state of Texas. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.
Thank you so much. That was the most inspirational thing. I love the sports analogy. I live by that as well. So this is just a nice commemorative item for you to put back on your desk to remind you, of course, the Lone Star State, as well as Nasdaq. So we want to thank you so much for being here and being a part of this event. So thank you very much. And I also would like to invite Ross to come up, and we are very excited to have you also join us, Ross. And oh, always. There's always more to do. I'm going to give you your one as well, Ross. So this is, of course, another thing for you to put on your desk.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would love for us to have a picture. All right, we'll just do right here. Is that okay? Great. You're good to go? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. And please enjoy the rest of your lunch, and thank you. Thank you very much.